So Stetson Bennett looked down and he saw a bunch of missed phone calls from Kirby Smart. He was at Jones Community College as a quarterback. He was about to sign with Billy Napier and the Louisiana Lafayette Cajuns. If that's correct, I'm not sure, but it was Louisiana Lafayette was where Billy was at. And Stetson was set to sign there. It was a Saturday morning. And this is all something that he talked about with Tate Ratledge and company over on their podcast, which is it was from a couple of years ago, but they reposted it today. I thought it was excellent. Excellent reporting, honestly. And if you've been around Stetson Bennett at all, we're on Stetson time in many ways. Like he would really aggravate the coaches at Georgia sometimes with Stetson ball or Stetson time, and at the end of the day, it all worked out. But that morning, Georgia wanted to know what the story was. Like, hey, are you coming to Georgia or not? And there was pressure from Kirby, Jim Chaney at the time. Kirby or why did Stetson leave? So if you don't remember the story of Stetson Bennett, I've immersed myself in this many times, and as I fix my collar or attempt to, Stetson signed or walked on at Georgia as a quarterback in 2017. He was there with Jake and Jacob, and eventually Justin Fields got there in 2018, and Stetson just was like, "Hey, look, I'm not going to sort of waste my time here." And there were a lot of people who were interested in Stetson after he left. It was not necessarily just Louisiana Lafayette; it was Miami, it was NC State. He had options, but Georgia was really kind of desperate to get him back. And this is the part that he didn't talk about. He was only going to go back if he was a scholarship player. There was not going to be any of this walk-on stuff. That was not Stetson's. He wanted to play. Okay, he wanted to be a player. Georgia, though, this story, this moment in time really reflects how serious Georgia is about every single position that's a scholarship position in their program. And, for Stetson Bennett to, at the time, Stetson Bennett had played a few times at Georgia. He had thrown a pick six. No, this was after the fact. This is actually, he came back and threw the pick six. Stetson had really turned it on and played really well in Rose Bowl practices. He was Baker Mayfield and for the Dawgs, and the guys on the defense wouldn't stop talking about him. But he kind of had a forgettable time at Georgia other than that. I mean, he was a walk-on quarterback. He was a backup. He was never going to really play. Jake Fromm left. They were going to bring in Justin Fields. When Justin left, because he was never going to play over Jake, or at least it was going to take a year to beat Jake out, he went to Ohio State, and that's what set up, Stetson coming back. And then, of course, JT Daniels, Jamie Newman, Carson Beck was there. And Carson was sitting right by Stetson during this talk. Carson had hair at the time, which was... That's a lot of lettuce that he had on top of his head. But had that call not happened, had Kirby and them not taken that time to be serious about getting Stetson back, this would have never happened. They knew this was something that they could see on the practice field because they saw it a lot on the practice field. This is the last. This is number 50 of 50. This is my last Stetson Bennett signed double Dawgs. I will put the link below. If the link's not below for some reason, go find it. But it's the last one. You cannot order two. What we don't know at the time when Stetson's telling this story, there was other background on this too, which was that Tom Monken told Stetson, "You're never going to play here. Like that's not going to happen." And that was heading into the 20 season. Well, as it turns out, not only did he play for them, but he won them as the starting quarterback. He won them 2 national championships. These things do not happen without Stetson Bennett as the quarterback. I just... Well, certainly this moment in time does not happen. But these moments, Kirby with the... I still got the tags on these, sorry. these moments, they don't happen without Stetson as the quarterback. JT Daniels, it's hard to say that JT would not have won it in 21. But I know what did happen, which was Stetson won them both. And I mean, it wasn't because of JT Daniels. JT Daniels beat Clemson. That was not nothing. That was the number 3 team in the country. The game before that, he beat Cincinnati. That was not nothing. They beat ranked Mizzou the week, but blew ranked Mizzou out. The game before that, they blew out Carolina, who was not good. The game before that, he threw for 400 yards almost against Mississippi State, or 400, whatever it was. JT Daniels was a rocket ship. I'd never heard anyone's. I still have, only in my entire time covering Georgia, going to Georgia game, whatever. I have, in my life, one time, I'm 46 or 7, whatever it is, I've heard one time a player's name get chanted at Sanford Stadium, and that was when JT Daniels, the guy that Stetson Bennett would replace, that guy, his name was chanted. That never happened with Stetson. And had that scattered morning in the winter of 19 not happened, it's hard to think that those things would have happened. And I can tell you right now, as a person who runs a .com and a message board and has been on Twitter, for far too long, 15 years, really the message board world, people wanted not one snap of Stetson Bennett after the 2020 season. Not one. They didn't want to see him. And Stetson has faults. But I will say this about Stetson Bennett more than anything. It's not that he has false confidence. He doesn't. But he has a self-awareness on the field. His confidence in his abilities grew over time. Well, that might be the wrong way to put it. I think his confidence was always there. I think he listened. Now, I don't know that. I'm not reporting that. But my suspicion is he was coached and he listened. And he, not all the time, but he did what he was supposed to do in those moments. He did go too fast against Ohio State. He just did. And I was there for that. I saw that. I saw the way Kirby was acting. They come right at me, right down the sideline. He went too fast in that moment. But he also was, in a way, Stetson was like a basketball player in that he could kind of do what he wanted to do out there, and it never seemed to hurt him. Like, there are plays in basketball, and there are certainly plays in football, but there are more concepts in basketball. If you can just take your guy, you just take him. It felt like that happened a lot with Stetson as the quarterback. And that was hard to contain sometimes. From the coaching staff would get a little bit aggravated with Stetson sometimes. Just run what we're calling you in practice, what we're calling for you in practice, But I think the Stetson story is one of the all-time stories in college football history. And frankly, and I'm not bragging about this by any stretch, but I was one of the few people that saw it from start to finish. And I will tell you right now, it is one of the hardest to believe stories. If you told me at the half, if you told me at the half of the Arkansas game, the guy that's coming in, that's been playing in the second quarter, but the guy that's coming in the second half that will lead Georgia to victory in this game, I wasn't sure they were going to win that game, just being straight up. They look horrible. The guy that's coming in, who is a transfer, former walk-on from Jones Community College, who played at Pierce County, that guy's going to lead them to the national championship twice. I would have not just said you got issues. I would have turned the phone on. I would have dialed 911. I've got a person with a mental condition in front of me. He's threatening me with abusive language, or it could be a woman. It could be a woman threatening me with this abusive language. You need to come pick this person up, because that's not happening. And there were a lot of smart people, intelligent people after the Alabama game in 21, the first Alabama game, that said they cannot win this. These are football people. They cannot win this with Stetson Bennett. He can't do it. I think Stetson, on the field, Stetson is a great example of, we just don't know. Like, sports are so beautiful because of what we don't know. And, Kevin Garnett saying anything is possible. Stetson Bennett proved it. Kevin Garnett should have won NBA championships. As it turns out, Stetson Bennett should have won them too, but boy, it didn't look like it in 2020. But he nearly did not wind up in Athens the second time, and he talked about it on Tate Ratledge's podcast. I'm sorry, Tate, I cannot remember off the top of my head. I cannot remember the name of the podcast, but y'all know the one I'm talking about. They do a good job with it. Thanks for watching.